Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tearing into a stack of fresh sources that reveal the complex and often contradictory world of IT spending. For years, the mantra was so simple. Shift everything to the cloud. For scalability, flexibility, cost savings, it was a total revolution.
It was, and that revolution delivered on many fronts, but it also created this massive new pressure cooker for IT leaders globally.
Right.
We're working with data from a global survey here, about 2,300 IT decision makers. And what it shows is this fascinating complexity. The mission today isn't just about moving workloads.
No.
It's about maximizing your total IT investment, balancing high performance with strict spending controls and, weaving in environmental awareness, all while using these really sophisticated frameworks.
Okay, let's unpack this immediately because the biggest and maybe the most counterintuitive find right away is what we're calling the big tension.
Yep.
While all the buzz is about accelerating cloud adoption, organizations are actually allocating an average of, 37% of their IT infrastructure spend towards shifting back.
Shifting resources back or reinvesting in traditional on-premise solutions.
That's a huge number.
It's the ultimate surprise pivot, a massive reallocation. It means nearly 2 out of every 5 infrastructure dollars are now weighted against the default cloud strategy.
And why is that happening?
It's really driven by 2 forces. First, the severe economic impact of high-profile security breaches. That forces a reevaluation of data residency. And second, a painful recalculation of the total cost of ownership, the TCO.
The TCO,
Yep.
between hyperscale cloud and physical data centers.
Exactly.
So with this level of complexity managing mixed environments, quantifying cloud value, it demands serious financial governance, which is why we're seeing new operational frameworks become, essential.
Absolutely. FinOps, or financial operations, is emerging as the clear cultural leader here.
And what's really reflective of a culture shift is the certification data, right?
It is. FinOps is moving beyond just being a framework. It's becoming this essential cultural practice for injecting financial accountability directly into engineering teams. The source material notes that more professionals are now getting certified in FinOps than in traditional IT asset management, or ITAM.
That tells you everything.
It tells you where the industry thinks the immediate controllable value lies.
And just to make this whole balancing act sufficiently difficult, we have the AI paradox hanging over all of it. Automation is supposed to save us money, right?
You'd think so. And look, 60% of organizations are using AI for IT process automation.
But at the same time,
At the same time, 40% of those same people see AI spend as the single biggest IT cost challenge they will face over the next 3 years.
so the very tool that promises efficiency is also the biggest future cost concern.
It's a classic innovator's tightrope walk. You need AI to compete, but the costs for data, for security, for compute, they're just incredibly hard to forecast.
So let's start where the accountability lies. FinOps. Let's dive into the concept and the current state of play. For anyone listening who needs the core definition, give us the FinOps elevator pitch.
Okay. FinOps is an operational framework and a cultural practice. Its goal is to maximize the business value you get from technology
And it does that how?
by enabling timely, data-driven decisions and creating financial accountability through collaboration. And critically, this is not just an IT task. It requires engineering, finance, and business teams to collaborate continuously.
The core idea being that everyone takes ownership.
Every single person who uses the cloud takes measurable ownership of that cloud usage.
And you can see why this is so urgent. Organizations are spending, roughly 31% of their total IT budgets on cloud services?
Exactly. When a third of your budget is dynamic and usage-based, it's no surprise that cloud cost optimization and FinOps, cited by 57%, are seen as the biggest levers for maximizing IT spend value.
We see that urgency, especially in heavy industries, too.
We do. Manufacturing and distribution, for instance, they're prioritizing FinOps at 66%. And energy and utilities are right behind them at 62%.
Which makes sense. They have massive fluctuating resource footprints, so optimizing even a tiny fraction of their spend
Yields huge financial benefits.
But if FinOps is so critical, how mature is the adoption globally? Are companies really running this as a full-scale operation?
Not yet. The journey is still in its early stages. Only 19% of organizations globally report having FinOps fully integrated as a cross-team strategy.
Only 19%. And the geographic variation is enormous, right?
It is. The U.S. leads significantly, with 35% reporting full integration. Asia-Pacific, or APAC, sits at 22%, while EMEA is lowest at 14%.
Though the UK is a bit of an outlier there.
A clear outlier. The UK is bucking the trend within EMEA at 27%.
That's interesting. If the US is the most mature, shouldn't they be better at keeping workloads in the cloud? Does this FinOps maturity actually mask a deeper security fear that's pushing that 37% shift?
That's an excellent analytical question, and it suggests maturity doesn't guarantee a single strategy. It enables informed choice. They know their costs better, so they're choosing to diversify based on risk.
I see.
Now, beyond geography, we see some predictable sector differences. Accounting and finance have the most mature strategies, which, makes sense.
Of course. And conversely, the public sector seems to be dragging its feet.
They are a clear outlier in terms of risk aversion. 19% of public sector organizations report having no formal cost management process at all.
Wow, no process at all.
None. That is double the overall industry average of 8%. It's genuinely shocking, especially for organizations with a responsibility to taxpayers, to be flying so blind.
Visibility is the bedrock of FinOps. You can't optimize what you can't see, but it sounds like visibility is still a huge problem.
It is. 2/3 of organizations rely on the native cloud provider tools, the built-in dashboards from AWS or Google.
But for the full picture.
For that holistic end-to-end view across public and private environments, 51% have invested in third-party tools. Yet, even after sinking budget into these advanced tools, 44% of respondents still say they have limited visibility into their cloud spending.
It's the classic management problem. You buy the expensive dashboard, but you still have to hire someone who knows how to read it. Or worse, integrate 3 competing dashboards. You're just paying for a fancier way to be confused.
Exactly. And that limited visibility, when you combine it with the anxiety over AI cost, it brings other traditional cost challenges back into focus, like rising software licensing costs. That concerns 38% of organizations.
That feels like something that should be solvable with good IT asset management. But the source material highlights this long-tail problem.
That's a massive hidden drain. Software is about 1/3 of total IT budgets. And while the big enterprise license agreements get all the scrutiny, this long tail of small, forgotten licenses, it can contribute up to 20% of that total software spend.
20%.
Imagine finding out you're spending 1/5 of your software budget on tools nobody has touched in 2 years. It's a huge low-hanging fruit that FinOps principles can tackle.
That context sets us up perfectly for our next section. To understand where those controls are being applied, we have to look at the battlefield. Public cloud versus the physical data center. Let's dive into the shifting infrastructure strategy.
The counter-trend is significant. We can't dismiss it as an anomaly anymore. 96% of organizations are considering shifting IT infrastructure spend back toward on-premise, and the budget allocated is substantial, an average of 37%.
And it's even higher for large organizations.
It is. For those with over 5,000 employees, that commitment rises to 40%.
So why the exodus? Why give up the agility and elasticity the cloud is famous for?
It's the cost of risk. The top reason cited for both reinvesting in existing on-prem and diverting new budget there is overwhelmingly data security concerns.
That speaks volumes.
It does. It says a lot about the current threat landscape and the perceived difficulty of guaranteeing data residency and security compliance in a multi-cloud world.
And we see that security pressure coming directly from the top, don't we?
Precisely. The C-suite leaders, the ones responsible for corporate reputation, they allocate significantly more budget to on-prem, around 41%. Compare that to managerial roles at 36%. The C-suite feels the most acute pain from security incidents, so they're making the fiscally conservative choice.
But let's be clear, the cloud is not dying. It's still a massive priority for growth.
Absolutely. The picture is hybrid, not wholesale abandonment. An average of 41% of IT infrastructure budget is still allocated to scaling existing cloud deployments.
And the drivers there.
The main drivers for that continued investment are scaling deployment, that's 55%, achieving cost efficiency at 50%, and gaining that crucial flexibility at 49%. It's just no longer the singular, unchallenged strategy it was 5 years ago.
And we also see those regional differences we mentioned earlier. The scaling approach really changes based on geography.
That's a great nuance to pick up on. EMEA organizations are scaling cloud more cautiously. They're allocating 39% of spend, which is notably lower than the US at 47%.
And the thinking there is regulations like GDPR.
That's the likely explanation. GDPR, rising data sovereignty issues. It all makes migrating specific workloads across borders more complex and expensive. When compliance overhead gets too high, the TCO equation starts to favor keeping that data local.
Okay, before we move on, let's touch on the perennial headache for budget planners.
Yeah.
Vendor predictability. Who are the big players causing the most uncertainty?
The usual suspects. Microsoft, Google, and Amazon Web Services, or AWS. They're the top three vendors impacting budget predictability today, and the sources explicitly state they're expected to pose significant challenges over the next 3 to 5 years.
Which means your core planning assumption is essentially a moving target.
Exactly. It makes long-term resource commitment extremely difficult.
And that volatility brings us straight to the fastest growing source of unpredictability, AI. Let's dive into Section 3, the AI cost paradox. First, what about its immediate utility in optimizing the infrastructure we've just discussed?
In terms of current utility, AI is a powerful tool for operations. Nearly two-thirds, 60%, are using AI for IT process automation.
That's the most popular use case then.
It is. It outperforms cost analytics and allocation, which are both sitting around 45%. And regionally, APAC organizations are currently the highest users of AI for cost optimization globally.
So if it's so useful for automation and optimization, why do 40% name AI spend as the top cost challenge for the next 3 years? Where is that fear coming from?
It's not just the computational cost, it's the governance and the risk. The top two struggles organizations face with AI spend are tied to security and ethics. Data privacy concerns are highest at 38%, followed very closely by security concerns at 36%.
So when AI systems ingest huge amounts of data, the exposure profile just changes completely.
It does. And finance teams are often reluctant to invest heavily in emerging tech when they're also being asked to dramatically strengthen overall security.
This sounds like a perfect mandate for the governance frameworks we've been talking about.
It is. And global regulations, like the EU AI Act, will only increase the pressure to impose controls. FinOps has a key role to play here, not just in managing compute spend, but in providing that necessary governance structure to reassure hesitant finance teams.
And how early are we in that process? What does the data say about using FinOps for AI specifically?
We're seeing organizations start to align the two frameworks. 40% of organizations currently use FinOps to forecast budgets for new AI tools, and 39% use it to define quantifiable AI success metrics. This suggests the market is very much in the experimentation stage.
They know they need to control it, but the blueprint is still being drawn.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears entirely now to our final framework. We've covered FinOps and infrastructure. Let's introduce GreenOps sustainability beyond savings. What exactly is GreenOps? How does it differ from FinOps?
So GreenOps is an operational model that ensures sustainability metrics are as integrated into your business practice as your financial metrics. It integrates technologies and practices to maximize cloud efficiency while explicitly reducing environmental impact. So we're talking about smart load balancing, using energy-efficient data centers, that sort of thing.
What's fascinating here is the motivation disconnect. FinOps is driven by money saved. GreenOps seems to be driven by a different imperative entirely.
Precisely. Sustainability is a major factor in IT procurement decisions for a massive 89% of respondents. However, fewer than one-third, only 31%, cite sustainability as a top impact on IT cost optimization.
So the primary drive is sustainability goals and an ethical mandate.
Yes, not immediate measurable cost reduction. The initial investment and focus are driven by corporate mandate, not ROI projections.
A goal in itself.
A necessary part of doing business now. And does FinOps maturity help drive GreenOps adoption?
There's a very strong correlation. Organizations with the most mature FinOps strategy are far more likely to target eco-friendly practices. 99% of those with mature FinOps value sustainability, compared to only 76% of those with no FinOps strategy at all.
That makes perfect sense. The discipline required to control finances translates directly into the discipline required to control environmental impact.
Once you understand exactly how your resources are being consumed and wasted, you can apply both a financial and an environmental lens to the problem. So what initiatives are organizations finding most effective in their GreenOps efforts?
When you look at the big system-wide initiatives, two tactics are cited as most effective by 72% of organizations. The first is migrating workloads to public cloud or energy-efficient data centers, and the second is actively using renewable energy sources for IT operations. Those are the two big levers.
So what does this all mean for the IT decision maker listening to this? We started with the cloud's promise, moved to the necessity of FinOps, saw a major shift back to on-premise driven by security fears, and dealt with the complexity of AI costs. And finally, we realized that sustainability is now a strategic goal in itself.
It means the future of IT cost management is defined by holistic strategy and complex balancing acts. You have to navigate that security-driven shift back to physical premises, fully integrate the FinOps culture, find the AI sweet spot that maximizes automation without exploiting your budget, and leverage GreenOps as a core discipline.
It sounds like IT cost management is fundamentally an existential challenge now, requiring a full cultural realignment.
It is. The key, as these sources emphasize, is agility and implementing universal, measurable metrics across your entire technology estate. It doesn't matter if it's public cloud, private cloud, or traditional on-premise.
Without that visibility, you're flying blind.
And the market complexity will simply run you over.
That leaves us with our final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. The source material noted that a top worry for organizations is preparing for the unknown lack of governance, cloud cost unpredictability, rising software, and AI costs. So you have to ask, if both security and predictability are driving significant IT budget back to physical premises, does this signal that the promise of cloud flexibility is permanently outweighed by the escalating costs of governance and compliance? Or is this merely a cyclical correction before the next wave of multi-cloud maturity?